Buzz, yeah, one game in 11 days, I think, or almost 2 weeks, a week and a half. How does that maybe change the preparation approach, what you guys focus on when you have such a break between, you know, now and the Vegas tournament?
We were off on Saturday playing a late night Friday night game. I thought that was the right decision. We planned the semester in advance in July, just so that I don't ever make an emotional decision relative to our calendar. Our organization is very rhythmatic, and in some ways that's a blessing. Sometimes we use it against ourselves. So I try to make all of those decisions from a process standpoint, not a result standpoint.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then on Sunday, we did week 2 in review, and we had a little different flow after our time in the film room. We did a offensive OTA, which is something we do in the summer. Monday was 2 days before. Today's 1 day before. Tomorrow's a game. We're going to take Thursday off. Friday, we're going to act as if it's 2 days before, even though it's not, because we're going to take Saturday off. You have to take 2 days off in the week preceding the week that you have 3 competitions. So on Sunday, I explained a little bit of this in context to our team. This week, there's only 1 game. That only happens one other time during the season. That's during finals week. Next week is 3 games, and we hope that the only time that happens again, 3 games in 1 week, is in the SEC tournament. Not just Texas A&M, but most teams are having some layer of back-to-back weeks of uniqueness. And I do think if you look at the following week, because they've turned the tournament into a tournament only on Saturday because TV bought the rights. When we signed the contract, it was to be on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Now it's on Saturday. And you don't know when you play until Wednesday night. So there's a chance we're not traveling home until Sunday, depending upon when we play on Saturday. And then the ACC SEC Challenge is Tuesday. And I think we play an early game in that regard. So there's a lot coming our way. And we've tried to make the best unemotional and educational decision on all of those days. Similar to what Rock just said. Thanksgiving will be 2 days before. Black Friday will be 1 day before, and then we'll play on Saturday. That's kind of our rhythm, as you know. So you never know if it's the right thing, but these 2 weeks are very unique weeks.
Since I don't think we'll get to talk to you before that, you were here when the football team was playing Texas. That game is coming back. What have you seen from just the energy around the athletic department, the school for having that back, and how can does that dovetail into to y'all a little bit with recruiting and anything like that?
Yeah, like any coach, you want all of the teams to be successful. I think the job that Coach Elko's done in year 1 is perfect. We won't be here to play, to see live that game. I would really like to be. I know that potentially, depending upon what transpires over the next 10 days, there'll be a lot at stake. As you know, I keep up with football way more than I do basketball in many respects. I do think that there's always residual value on success that anybody's having. Volleyball's doing a lot of good things. Excited for Coach Taylor. I think they're going to the Bahamas when we're going to Vegas. But once the season starts, Travis, transparently, I live in the most narrow lane you can possibly imagine. It's been healthy for me emotionally. I quit using social media the day before we played Houston. That was kind of I always give up something for the season every year. That's been good for me, but I've noticed that I'm further and further removed. Unless people text me the articles, I don't read near as much of that sort of content. So, yeah, I'm excited about I'm learning a little bit about the college football playoff and how it's going. And the only time I watch TV is when I train, so I see some of that early in the mornings. But, yeah, I think all of that is departmental-wide is important.
Coach, your defense is fourth in the SEC in opponent field goal percentage, only allowing 36%. Can you talk about that defensive effort and just kind of what you've seen thus far through 4 games?
Yeah, I think Coach Devon's made some. Thank you. I think Coach Devon's made some adjustments within our scheme at an earlier state than we typically do. Some of that is because of the schedule that we're playing. We're forced to grow up at a faster rate, and that's been healthy. And I think we've been able to accumulate a volume of those reps because of the opponents faster than we ever have. I think it's still a little too early on some of the data. Just 4 games. I know you agree with that. But it's similar to what I told you guys after the Ohio State game. We've started different lineups. We're playing different combinations. And there is some evidence, yeah, this is good for this. We thought this would be good for that. And so hopefully by the time we get back from Vegas, we'll have another 4 games of information that I think will be important. But some of the things that we've done before the ball is being shot, those adjustments that Devon has made, I think our guys have executed at a really high rate. And I think long term, they were for sure the right adjustments. Hey, Carter, so let me scan this real fast. Ohio State was our 10th largest home crowd since we have been in College Station. It was the largest non-conference game attendance. It was the first top 25 game in Reed since January of 16. If you take away COVID during our tenure here, our average attendance is 8,081 at home games. Over the last 2.5 seasons, our attendance is up to 9,521. In our tenure here, we're 59-20 in all home games. If you exclude the COVID year, we're 53-17. And if you look at just the last 2.5 seasons, we're 27-6 at home, 82% winning percentage. In those 33 games, we've won by an average of 11.5 points. When we play at 75% capacity, I'm trying to only find the things that you could utilize. This is a very in-depth study because I like numbers, and this is probably too number-centric. When we play at 75% capacity, in other words, within Reed, which speaks to some of the genre of question that Travis was talking about, like does support matter? When we play at 75% capacity, we're 12-4. When we have played to 85% capacity, we're 9-2. Since the end of the COVID season, we are 43-10 at home. There's a bunch of other numbers, but I have a breakdown of every game since I've been here, and I break it down in a variety of different ways: winning, losing, home, road, conference, non-conference, quad 1, quad 2. But I always think that relative to the market, revenue share, house settlement case, season tickets sold, student attendance, there's a lot of different ways you can skew numbers, and sometimes I just like to look at the whole thing, not that anybody asked me or not that anybody even cares. I care because we've given our lives to this place over the last 6 years, and so those are some of the numbers.
When you look at that evidence, just how important is it for you guys going into, these home stands to defend home court and kind of back up what this is telling you?
Yeah, all of that is true. The bigger the crowd, the better we play. I think if every coach in the country in any sport did this, the numbers would probably suggest that. But the environment versus Ohio State, this is what I did. I've done it throughout the 6 years. I do it on. Have I ever sent you the coaches study I do? So Travis has seen some of it, but I do it on a lot of different things, and this is one thing I've done throughout my career. Did it at Marquette, did it at Virginia Tech. I think it speaks to support. I think it speaks to lack of support. I think it speaks to the importance of having success at home. If you looked at road games in these same ways, what's your success on the road in those environments? I think that speaks to on a lot of levels too. So, yeah, I thought Friday night was for sure the best it had been in non-conference since we've lived here, and that was an important win, an important game, a great environment. I think those things are important.
With that, coming off that big game, you've got, some very close in the future with this tournament in Vegas. What do you want to see tomorrow night from your team, just to kind of?
Yeah, just if our behaviors can stay the same regardless of the opponent. We don't need to take a step back off what happened Friday night in order to reconjure those same behaviors going into Vegas in what will be a neutral site. We need to take the next step in how we practiced yesterday. I thought their spirits were tremendous. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do one or two different things today. We need our behaviors to continue to trend towards impacting winning.
Looking at the Vegas tournament, just how'd that come together? Why you decided that that'd be something you guys would want to participate in, and just the uniqueness of the setup of what they're trying to do?
It's an ultra long story. I think the most succinct way I can tell you is the people that are running it I met in my first year as a college coach, and only because of my relationship was Texas A&M invited, and I did everything but burn Vegas down so that we could be invited, because in order for us, just to be transparent, you've never heard me talk about NIL, but it is a part of the landscape, and we have to figure out a way to be competitive. And in order for us to have the roster, we had to play in the event. And I was scolded by many people in many different ways for canceling the tournament we were scheduled to play in. But there's so many factors that do not get to tweets or print media or electronic media anymore. But that would be the most succinct and unapologetic way I could present it to you.
Coach, you say the first 4 games, obviously the sample size of data isn't enough. At what point in time do you look at the numbers and say, like, okay, this is substantial?
So, thanks for asking. I think, a few things, like how I mentioned, I quit looking at social media. I've quit looking at all of those predictive text or analytics too, because it skews it. It messes my brain up, like, oh, Ken Palm says we're supposed to do this. No, he's basing it on last year, and he's basing it on their last year. But there are returning players and returning talent, but how does that talent mesh? So I'm gonna not look at anything predictive until after finals week, because I think now you're beginning to have a sample size that probably suggests some threads that you can rely on.
How much of a boost is it for you guys when, we've seen Andy be impactful off the bench and Henry, but now it seems like this year you've had even a few more impactful guys.
I don't know. I don't know. Like that I don't know. And I'm vacillating. Is that the word? Vacillating. Damn. That was the wrong word, right? Sorry for using profanity. Vacillating. So early in his career, Andy didn't want to start. It's hard to convince a player to start if their heart's not in it. And he was very impactful in his ability to play long stretches of time without a sub. So we were able to probably get him to his threshold of minutes with him not starting. And then I think Henry is playing analytically better than he has since 2 years ago. Is he playing that because he's older, he's more mature, he's accepted the role, He's doing incredibly well in a very short amount of time. Is he doing incredibly well because he's playing the right number of minutes? Should we expand his minutes? Should we expand his role? Or is he doing well because of his role and the lane that he's in? I don't know. And there's a part of me that wants to figure it out like he's talking about maybe some tomorrow. We start a different group to start the game on Friday. That's because Jace got hit in the face. But I had started that group. We play a 4-minute game every day, and we give context to the game. We play time, score, momentum, bonus, timeouts, free throws, and we construct the rosters and use that to add to our own data. The group that started on Friday had played together before in practice in those 4-minute games and were beyond pitiful, which that evidence said we should never start them. But I think that group we started was a big part of why we started so well defensively. But now I have contradicting numbers relative to what we have done. And so I've been talking about this since Friday with the two nerds in our group that like to talk about this. Like, what is right, Henry? What is right, Gochi? What is right, Andy? Because you want to try to hurry up and figure that out because there's not much margin relative to our opponents to figure it out in game time. You have to kind of figure it out. So we're going to construct our 4-minute game today to continue to give data points to what is right.
Is Andy not wanting to start, is that something unique that's happened in your career, or does that happen more often?
I would say unique is probably the right category. There's been a couple of kids throughout my tenure as a head coach that would have that bent on it. Andy is more and more comfortable per passing day. He's very close with Rock. He and I are very close. He's probably the most unselfish player that I've ever coached that impacts the game and never has to touch the ball. And so he's such a beautiful person. You don't want to go, no, you have to do it, because now it takes away his spirit, and his spirit is why he's so good. And I don't think Andy's been very good the last 2 weeks. And I think it's his, I jumped on him yesterday at the end of practice. He wants everybody to be their best, and he wants to be a servant to helping them be their best. Sometimes at the demise of he's not his best. We are dependent on his best, and we need his best. And I don't think he's been his best. I think he's shown flashes of what you've seen before, but not the consistency that we're going to need over the next 100 days.